Hello everybody, welcome back to the Lake George Club on beautiful Lake George. We have another beautiful day to demonstrate some of our more popular items here at the club. Today I'd like to demonstrate how to prepare a perfect lobster roll, a New England style lobster roll. Everybody's different. People put all kinds of ingredients in the lobster roll. The best lobster roll is simply lobster and a few basic ingredients. You don't want to overdo it, you want to taste the lobster, which we happen to have a couple of right here, whole. I cooked earlier today for this purpose. I'd like to show you how to break one down, remove the meat, and turn it into a wonderful lobster salad for our lobster roll. Growing up in New England, I was introduced to lobsters at a very young age. I loved lobster my whole life and had it many different ways, including lobster rolls. And some people will use, ingredients such as onions and herbs and spices and stuff. You don't want to mask the flavor of a lobster. You want to keep it as natural as possible. And the same thing goes when you're eating lobster warm. A lot of people drown it in butter. That's really taking the flavor away from your beautiful lobster. And plus butter coats your mouth. You can't really even taste the lobster. So I would suggest just a little squeeze of lemon. So anyway, you break the claws off along with the knuckles. You break the knuckles off and you can pull off the movable part of the claw and discard it. Again, break the knuckle, pull off, you want to pull that piece of cartilage out, that comes right out of the meat. The best way to get through the knuckles for the meat is just to take a nice pair of kitchen shears and you're going to cut up both sides of that lobster knuckle. The piece comes out, it's a nice piece of meat, and a lot of people discard this and don't realize how much meat is actually in that knuckle. But that's a beautiful piece of lobster meat out of the knuckle. So all the other shells really don't have much flavor in them except for the body part there. So again, we're going to slice down, cut down the shell here a little bit. Take that beautiful piece of meat out. Put that aside. And the tail, where most of the meat is, I'm just going to break that right down the center, like that. Open it up. And you'll see it always, depending on the male or the female lobster, and I can show you how to tell the difference in a moment. Except for that little bit of dark matter, you want to kind of rinse that off. Other than that, the rest can stay because it's all flavor. The white stuff on the outside, that's all very good flavor. And when it's in the salad, you're not really even going to see any of that. So I just assume not wash the lobster, unless it's really bad. So the difference, and I can show you on the tail, this is a female. They say the female's sweeter. I don't know if I buy that. I think it's just a young lobster is always going to be better. It takes a lobster about 5 years to grow 1 pound. We typically use 1.5 pound lobsters here at the club, but I've seen 20 pounders, and you can imagine how old those are at that point. But anyway, the female lobster will have a wider tail, and that's because it houses its eggs. When it lays eggs, that whole tail fills up with eggs under there. And there's also, if you look underneath, there's a couple of feelers right here at the beginning. These are very thin on a female. They'll be a lot thicker on the male. Again, we're just going to break them claws off like that. We're going to pull the tail off, and I'm going to reserve the body for my lobster stock. So again, now this is the female, and you see all that green matter. Now that is what is going to become eggs. Okay, that is the beginning of turning into eggs. It'll turn red when it's eggs. It stays green. You can see right in there, this is all going to be this red matter right here, which is, I call lobster coral. It can be used in a lot of different recipes. I use it for certain things, butters I like to make. But anyway, because it's a female, we're going to give it a little bit of a rinse. And that's all, just a rinse. I don't want to take any of that flavor off of the lobster. That's what gives it all the flavor. You want to pull if you see any veins kicking around in there, you just want to pull those out because they're unsightly. So coming to the claws, we already have this beautiful lobster right here. The claws are a little more tricky, but once you pull that cartilage out like that, it makes it simple to remove the meat. And I'll show you exactly how to do that. So snap it, pull it, cartilage comes out, break the claw, and then from the bottom, you take a good sturdy knife. I like to use, I got a variety of French knives, but this one's great on lobster. And I just break through the shell a little bit, and that piece of meat will come right out. It comes right out in one piece like that. Discard these shells. Again, break it open. Beautiful piece of lobster meat comes out. This is a nice size claw. They're all different, various sizes, but it seems to me like the best tasting lobster comes from the coldest water. The other variety of lobster that you'll see down in south, if you visit Florida, you'll see a lot of spiny lobsters. They call rock lobsters, slipper lobsters. They don't have that same flavor as the cold water New England lobster. So I'm just going to rough chop this lobster. I'm not going to dice it. I want it to be nice chunky pieces, so when you go to eat it, you get a mouthful of lobster and not other ingredients. It's very, I can't tell you enough how to keep it simple. I just keep it simple as possible. So rough chop. You don't want to make it too big, you know, you just want to make it so it's bite-sized pieces. Again, no rinsing required. Next ingredient, we have our beautiful lobster here. Our next ingredient is celery, simply celery. No onion, nothing like that. I'm just going to use this diced celery, which I already did, and I want to show you the best way to do this celery. Okay, I'm not going to add a lot, I'm just going to add enough for flavor. That's about enough. But when I do celery for lobster roll, only for lobster roll, basically, I like to remove the strings on the celery itself because they tend to be, if there's a string in there, I don't like the feel it gives the guest when there's something chewy in there. It shouldn't be there. So just take a vegetable peeler and remove the skins. And what you can do with these, actually, put them in ice cold water and they curl up and you can use them as a garnish later if you'd like. So what I'm going to do is just take, and you want this very, very small. You take your celery, you're going to cut these long julienne strips, pretty much as small as you can get them, and then you're just going to turn it and dice it very small as you can get it, just keeping it all even sized. It should all be about, you know, 1/8 to 1/16 of an inch dice. And that there, it's very palatable. It's not chewy, and it stays nice and tender because you remove the strings. We can add that in. Next ingredient. And like I said, I've had lobster rolls from way up northern Maine to Rhode Island, and everybody does them a little bit different. But the only thing I like to add is lemon, and I use a zester. This is a microplane or a zester, whatever you like to call it. I like to take you rinse, give the lemon a little bit of a rinse, and then you're just basically shaving that zest off. You don't want to work into the pith. You don't want any of that white. You just want to get that beautiful lemon, because that's where all the oils are in the lemon skin, and the flavor is immense. So again, you just, about 1 lemon's worth. Then, using that same lemon, I'm going to cut it in half, and we're going to use the juice of 1 lemon as well. So I'm going to squeeze that in, try to not let any seeds go in there. I'm going to use the whole lemon for about 2 pounds of lobster meat. Okay, I'm going to give it a little bit of a toss. Next ingredient will be a little bit of salt and pepper, not a lot. I have a mix here already pre-mixed, and I'm going to give it just a dash of Tabasco, because I think Tabasco just brings that whole thing together. Just a dash. And that's simple. Now the only ingredient left is the mayonnaise, and every lobster salad is made with a mayonnaise base. So we're going to take, by eye, we're going to start adding, and when you think you have enough in there, you can give it a nice toss and see if you've had enough mayonnaise. If it's a little bit dry, then just add some more. And start tossing this around a little bit. The celery adds a little bit of a crunch, so you have a little texture other than the lobster, which is basically soft. But you have those nice big pieces of lobster that give you a nice bite. And I think that's enough mayonnaise, to be honest with you. People tend to put too much in there, or too little. And for a typical New England style lobster roll, I think that's just about right. And you can get it this way up and down the Cape, up to from Maine, Wells. The thing that makes ours a little bit different, most people, especially in Boston, they'll use a hot dog roll, standard hot dog roll that you'll get at like a ballpark Frank style hot dog roll. Here at the club we use these beautiful brioche rolls, and they have a nice texture. And when you toast them off, they have this beautiful flavor. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I did a couple in advance just to show you how lovely they look after they're toasted. These are the beautiful brioche rolls that we use, and it just gives you a nice bite, nice flavor. And some people will put lettuce in there to fill up the roll or something like that. We don't really do that. We just like to fill the roll with lobster because you know, that's what you're having, the lobster roll. You're not having a lettuce roll. I like to serve it with a wedge of lemon. Some people like to have a little more lemon in their roll. So just melting a little butter here. Once it gets to the point where it's going to give me a nice toast, I'm going to add these raw rolls in there and show you how nice they brown up. Again, these are far superior to your standard hot dog roll, and people tend to love them. Our guests here and the members here at the club love this style of bread. They're a little bit more expensive, but they're absolutely worth it when you're using a great ingredient such as lobster. Okay, so while these are toasting up nicely, I'm going to go ahead and fill a few of these up for you. And by the looks of it, this came out really nice. I mean, look at this. It's a beautiful lobster roll. Looking at maybe 3.5 to 4.5 ounces of lobster in there. You know, you can put as much as you want in there at home, but I try to keep it standard here at the club with about a good 4 ounces. You get about 3.5 to 4 ounces of lobster out of a standard 1.5 pound lobster. The most is shell. This body weighs probably 3/4 pound on its own. So, and then we're going to flip these around a little bit, nice and golden brown. Beautiful, beautiful color. Color's flavor. It's a beautiful color right there. That's a perfect roll. And I would definitely use a salted butter when you're toasting bread, because that flavor, the little bit of salt that goes into the bread is amazing. And from there, two nice lobster rolls. You can use parts of the lobster for garnish, but a lot of people just like to eat the roll. So what I'll do is take a little bit of chive, fresh chives from the garden, and I'll just put a little bit on top like that. And we'll probably use like a lemon wedge. You know, side of chips or french fries, and you get yourself a beautiful lunch, you know. I'm just going to do this. One there. One there. Nice little bottle of Sauvignon Blanc, and you got a beautiful lunch. There it is right there. Lake George Club lobster roll.